good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching us from the world, a very warm welcome to the Leader Story Lounge. It's been a while that we connected. The world has been taken over by an unprecedented crisis, and more so in India for the last couple of months. Um, we are recovering, we are back, and back with a bang to show that not only we as individuals are resilient, so is our country. So, welcome back again to Leader Story Lounge. And just to give you a quick idea about what Leader Story Lounge is all about, this was an idea, this was a seed which was born a couple of months back when I took a conscious decision to move on my own from a structured corporate career of about 20 years. And I realized the world needs more of leadership stories. And I firmly believe if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And with that philosophy in mind, we at Leader Story Lounge firmly believe that leaders can be made and are proud to be architects of the process. We also feel that it is vital that leaders of tomorrow are brought in contact with leaders of today. And there is, luckily for us, no better means than technology in the world that we are living in to bring us together on the same platform. With that theoretical perspective and a practical experience, I've been running this show for almost 6 months now, and we've invited various leaders from the corporate, from the military, from the non-governmental organizations to share their leadership stories with you. Who am I? My name is Rupinder Kaur. I'm a leadership coach and a veteran, a military veteran, an educator and a researcher in my current capacity. Across 22 years of my career in 3 continents, I've donned 5 different careers. And it's my proud privilege to bring to you today none other than Mr. Manoj Kalra, who is a senior vice president with the DSM Business Services. Good evening and welcome, Mr. Manoj.
Thank you, Rupinder. Hope you're fine and everyone is safe at your place.
Yes, thank you so much. Very kind of you to ask that. I'm hoping it's the same at your end too.
Yes, it is.
So let me take a quick minute to introduce your illustrious career, Manoj, to the beautiful audience that we have. Manoj heads Group Business Services at Royal DSM, which is a Dutch multinational leader in nutrition, in health, and sustainable living. He has over 2 decades of experience in helming global capability centers at world-class organizations. Manoj has a proven track record of building high-performance teams, defining strategy, and managing operations in large global matrixed environments. Passionate about leveraging cutting-edge technologies such as AI and robotic process automation, he drives strategic value for businesses. Manoj serves on the Global Advisory Board of SSON, which is the world's largest shared services and outsourcing network. A thought leader in the shared services sector, his views and articles are often sought after and published in leading business publications. And prior to his current role at Royal DSM, Manoj worked with McKinsey and Company in various leadership capacities across the firm's locations in Poland, Philippines, and India. Earlier in his career, he also worked with Lehman Brothers, Reuters, Agilent Technologies, Crompton Greaves, and ITI, which is Indian Telephone Industries. That's a diverse and huge experience, Manoj. I must say that. Personally, he's a qualified chartered accountant who's based out of Hyderabad, India, where he resides with his family. He's a certified scuba diver and enjoys running, reading, and movies. So there is a huge amount of personal touch here to Manoj. And as we speak, it's my proud privilege to share with all of you that he's been nominated in the NASSCOM GCC Council representing Telangana and Andhra for building global capability centers. Thank you so much, Manoj, and I am especially privileged to have you as a guest on Leader Story Lounge.
The pleasure is mutual, Rupinder. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Great. So without delving more here, let me quickly straight away dive into the conversation. With such an illustrious professional career, and of course, see you have a huge amount of varied and interesting personal interests. Why don't you take us through your journey and mention some highs and lows of your journey as you've designed your career?
Sure, Rupinder, and thank you so much for building this platform and getting us to share our stories. As you said, it's important for us to connect with the leaders of the future. All the nice things that you said definitely have a lot of hard work, a little bit of good luck, and a few pitfalls that have also come across the way. Some have been incidental, some have been thought through. Now, where did it all start with? I was born and brought up in Nigeria. Right? My parents are teachers there. Dad teaching physics, mom is a maths teacher, and I did my schooling in Nigeria. So this was in 70s, and as any kid of from an expat family, the goal was to do your O levels from University of London and then move to your country where you're going to settle down. India being our choice. So once I did my O levels from University of London, we moved to India, in the northern part of India, in the state of Haryana. Now that was a turning point for me. A kid born and brought up in an international environment, suddenly brought into India, where language is an issue, culture is an issue, adaptability. And remember, I'm talking about late 80s. Internet was just seen in Star Trek at that time. How does a kid adapt to so many changes? And I would say that was also the beginning of my downfall. Why? There was just too much to grapple with. I tried to find my bearings, couldn't do that. And being children of having teachers as my parents, I was always being judged that if your dad is a physics teacher and your mom is a maths teacher, you're destined to be an engineer or a doctor. Destiny didn't hold that for me. I kept on studying. I stayed in Karnal, which is my hometown. I then moved on to do my Bachelor's of Commerce, still at a much with a downward trajectory, not doing very well in my academics. And then another turning point happened. My elder brother, who at that time was an MBBS student, was on his track to become a doctor, and here I am, not very much there in life. A gentleman in the society actually compared me with my brother at that time, and that was pretty hard hitting for me. That was hard hitting to the extent that I said, okay, I need to do something to gain that level of respect which my brother gets. And that moment shifted the trajectory of my life. I decided that I have to gain a qualification which puts me on the same pedestal that my family members are. Chartered accountancy became an obvious choice. I enrolled in the course as soon as my bachelor's in commerce was over, BCom, which was an eligibility at that time. And by the age of early 20s, I actually qualified to become a chartered accountant. Now, easier said than done. I just summarized this whole story in 2 sentences. But you can imagine the amount of social stigma that I had to go through because the society was not ready to accept that I can do this. There were a lot of naysayers around me. There were people who said, sorry, this isn't your cup of tea. Many examples of people who haven't done it were shared. I didn't have a role model around me, but I did have a purpose at that time. I couldn't define the purpose at that moment. Now I'm able to give words to it, but the purpose was I want to have the same level of social respect that my family has. And that is what drove me to getting that qualification. So that was another turning point in my career. But again, fine, qualification attained. Now what do you do with it? Little did I know that the real struggle starts now. Well, I then took that qualification, went out, became an assistant to a leading CA in Delhi, still trying to figure out what I do. And then I got my first break with a company called Indian Telephone Industries, which is known as ITI. And why I'm specifying on this, first, it was my first job, of course. Uh, Second, I moved to Bangalore, another change in life. Third piece, it was a government job. Now, why does it become so specific? Because I'm again going back to the social stigma. I got a government job, which means I'm settled for a lifetime. This is a place I have to retire from. Now it's time to get married and get settled in life. This was all the social noise around me. No, I had other things in store for me in life. Within 12 months, I quit ITI. I then joined Crompton Reeves as a manager of finance. And even then, I felt that perhaps I'm cut out for something else. I felt that I should do things which are broader and larger in scale. And that's when the ERP and shared services buzz was emerging. Again, I'm going back to late 90s, early 2000. And that's when I got my break in Agilent Technologies. And from there on, there's been no looking back. Agilent took me to Reuters. Reuters took me to Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers took me to McKinsey, where I spent 11 and a half years. And from McKinsey, now I'm in DSN. So all in all, Nigeria, India, in India, Haryana, then Delhi, then Bangalore, then back to Delhi, then back to Bangalore, then Mumbai, then Chennai, within my stint in McKinsey, Philippines, Poland, back to Chennai, and now Hyderabad. So it's been quite a run.
Wow. I only have that much to say. And I also hear another comment from somebody who's named Unicorn Shine saying, "What a career!" Pretty much all across the world. So thank you for sharing that journey, Manoj. And while you have amassed tons of experience, I'm sure it must not have been easy the way it started. And knowing the kind of biases and prejudices that people have across the continent with people of different races and ethnicities and so on and so forth. Thank you for sharing that piece of your personal life with us. And I can understand, being a coach myself, that when you are evaluated or judged or put on a pedestal, it's not only is it tough, but it also leads you to question your own identity. And then you ended up serving or, building a career with also one of, the most competitive firms in the industry, which is McKinsey. It's known for its outstanding consulting services, but we also know how competitive a culture is at the Big Fours. So that's an interesting part. I would love to hear from you that across two of the grandest firms that you've served, McKinsey and DSM, how easy or difficult has it been, to kind of work with these firms, and what are some of the lessons that you would have learned along the way?
I would say every organization has been grand and special to me. Personally, I wouldn't rank one above the other. ITI was my first job, my first love. I can never forget that experience of walking into that office in Margaret Road, Bangalore, and saying, "I'm a finance officer here," and being part of the corporate office. That experience taught me how to be organized, because the way a government office works, the way files are maintained, the way memos are created, that was quite a learning. Now, remember, those were the days of typewriters and computers were just coming in, so everything had to be written by hand and then typed. So it was quite an experience. Crompton Reeves was a leading appliance manufacturer. Learned a lot about how marketing happens and how the accounting for that happens and how do you manage the finances around marketing. That shaped me up in that way. And then thereafter was my journey in multinational companies, which is a very different experience. But the common theme in all good companies is the value system. And if you go back in history and you look at companies that have not fared well, it's because their value system is flawed. Companies that are doing well have a strong set of values, and amongst those values is caring for people. Yes, companies are competitive. Yes, companies want you to do more. They expect the best out of you, but they also give you an environment to thrive. They create that burning desire within you for you to do more. If you choose to, you get recognized. If you choose not to, then it's up to you on how you want to shape up your career. But it does take two to tango. You as an individual have to put in your efforts, and you have to have that burning desire to be better than what you were yesterday. At the same time, the company has to give you that platform and that system by which you can thrive on it and build on it. Because at the end, it's the company that benefits from you. So whichever organization you take into place, as long as they have a strong value system and they are caring in nature, and you're able to keep on learning and experimenting and working on what's next within your own scope of influence, that's how the growth happens. And that's how it. So whether it's McKinsey, whether it's in my current role in DSM or the roles prior to that, it's always been it's how well you challenge yourself. I'll share a few examples. Um, Visualize me sitting in my office one day and somebody coming and saying, "Hey, would you like to go to Philippines and set up a center over there, or would you like to go to Poland and set up a center over there?" I can choose to say yes, or I can choose to say no. If I say no, somebody else will do it. If I say yes, then I'm sticking my neck out and I really have to work hard to make it happen. But then once that product is created and delivered, you walk out with that experience and with pride, which gives you the confidence to do something more. And that's what keeps you moving. So that's how I would kind of sum it up. Organizations, if they have a good set of values and you're willing to kind of put that level of effort, the music plays and the magic happens. Sometimes you will fail and you will stumble, say sorry, get up, take 2 steps back and move forward.
Beautifully summarized. And thank you for sharing those examples. Um, Easier said than done, as we say. But I think the most important values that you kind of which struck a chord with me was, see, we're all human at the end of the day. While we have stellar careers, if we align with the values of the organization, we will also make mistakes. Yeah. So it's a good idea to accept the mistake, shed it off, and move on with donning a growth mindset hat and learn from the failure or the mistake that you've committed. And knowing you personally, Manoj, I know as much as you are astute in terms of your understanding of the business personally from a leadership perspective. I know that you are a great people leader also, and you've always stressed upon the need for care, for courage, and for collaboration as pillars of inclusive cultures in the firm. Now, those are really good sounding words, which most of us as pioneers, you know uh, as gatekeepers of culture would want to espouse for. But in your experience, uh, how do you think leaders can embrace the pressure of performance, because we know it's real, and still try and balance it with the care which is necessary for employees to thrive?
Let me share some examples. You know, and before we get there, let's also acknowledge that we're dealing with people, we're not dealing with machines. When we say people, we mean emotions. And when we're talking about emotions, why are people working? They're working because they want to build a career, but also they have to put bread on the table. Right? It's an important piece. I can say as many glorious things, but I do need my monthly salary to be able to put bread on the table for my family. So there's a little bit of insecurity as well in the minds of people. And as long as you're able to manage that and give them the sense of confidence, I think that's the first sense of caring, the longevity and the ability to care. Now, does that mean we don't take tough decisions? Of course, we take tough decisions as businesses, right? We have seen jobs moving from one country to the other. We have seen roles re-evolving and getting re-skilled, and sometimes the current skills don't fit into the skills of the future. But even that, when we take tough decisions, we do that with a lot of care and empathy, with an assurance of that people feel and know the reason why what is happening. But talking about examples, COVID struck us overnight, switching to a working from home mode. Now, minded people don't have space, people don't have the right level of ergonomic furniture to actually, uh, give put the efforts. I think as an organization, we were one of the first ones to make sure that chairs and tables reach everyone's home. The right level of infrastructure is sent to people's home. That's a sign of caring, which one leads by example. The fact that it strikes you at that very moment that, oh no, people are sitting at home and working and they're doing their best to make this work. What can I do to make their lives a little easy? Right. Again, just sticking to the COVID example, the insurance policies around this, the care around people who are infected. How can we as an organization help them? What is the least we can at least do to make sure that we are in contact? And even if we can't do anything, at least we're on the phone with them, talking with them. That to me is a sign of care. We know that skill sets are going to evolve. What are you doing to retrain your people? Because the skill sets they're not there. As we're speaking, people are learning new skill sets. So what can you do to make your current people learn new skill sets? What are those tools you can put in their hands to make them? That's another sign of caring. So yes, we are competitive. We do expect the best. It is a fierce world out there. But as organizations, what are you doing to make that an environment where people thrive in? That comes through care and collaboration. And the third aspect I'll also say is you have to be courageous. You have to be courageous to take some decisions. You have to be courageous to stand in front of your people and tell them what you want. You also have to be courageous to say, this is how we've been working up till now. The business is evolving. We need to evolve with the business. Let's move ahead. And these are the 5 things we need to do to make that work. That's how things have evolved over the last at least 2+ decades that I've seen. Water has never been still. And the day water is still, you know what happens to that pound of water.
Yeah, lovely analogy again. Flow like the water is, and especially in the current times that we live in, when nothing is really certain. Even the next day is not certain. I absolutely align with your principle, the last principle, Manoj, when you said courage. I believe courage is really fundamental to be even caring and compassionate and to ask people to collaborate. Courage to call it as it is, courage to accept as it is, and courage to take action ahead. And that's a very important value for today's and tomorrow's leaders to imbibe. So thanks for calling it out. Um, and I'm going to steer the conversation a little more towards the future now, having learned from your experience and your wisdom, Manoj. Um, there's been a fundamental question in the mind of people that you lead, and in the knowledge economy. Everything is available, as far as information is concerned, is available at the click of the hand. So fundamentally, people have this question in their mind, why should I be led by you? And having been into the area of research for almost 15 years now, I personally feel that is a question that every leader should also ask themselves. What has been your mantra when you've tried to answer that question for yourself?
I would just reverse the question and say, what does it take for me to work with you? If I can answer that question to myself, I think I find the answer to your question. In the last 25 years of me working, when I started, I was working with young kids from college in their early 20s. I'm still working with young kids from college in the early 20s. What has changed is the gap between my age and their age. Correct? I need to understand where they come from, their psychology, what drives them, what motivates them, and and this will continue. So if I continue working for the next 20 years, the gap between now and the kids that come from college will only increase. So what does it take for me to work with them is the way I would answer your question. And since I love sharing examples, let me share one more. I was doing coffee talks with my colleagues. And one of the general questions I'll say, so how is it working from home? Are you comfortable? Is everything fine? Do you miss the office? And I didn't realize that I was talking to two interns. And this was with my colleagues in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. And they said, office, we've never been to office. This is our first job out of college, so we don't know what an office is. That statement hit me quite hard because here I am dealing with a new generation who has never seen office, who perhaps don't want to come to office, perhaps, or will find coming to office an extra piece of work or a burden. I don't know, right? I have to learn. But here I am dealing with another generation of employees that don't know what coming to office means, have no experience. They've qualified their last year out of university sitting at home, and now they've started working sitting at home. And for them to come to office is a change in lifestyle completely for them and will have some sort of consequence, good or bad, I don't know. But it'll have some repercussions on their lifestyles, and they don't know what to expect. So what does it take for me to work with them to make them comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah, which is I think if that's a beautiful way of reversing the question when you say, can I adapt myself to the current context? And we know there is a generational difference. We know there is a difference in terms of how the current generation looks at work, life, balance, values. At age of 20 and 18, they're asking, what is my purpose in life? When they join workforce, the question that they have is, how am I contributing to the larger picture? At 28, they're looking at, okay, how am I contributing to the organization mission with a view of retiring at 35 years of age? That's a different generation and a different world that we are living in.
Exactly.
So I think it makes absolute sense for the leaders at the helm to see this is a reality that we have. 70% of the workforce by 2025 will be millennials and Generation Z. So how do you really change your lens to say, what can I change in my own outlook to bring more from these people who are going to contribute immensely? So thank you for giving people that perspective, Manoj. I think it does leave everyone with thought or so as they're watching now or when they will come and watch it later. But I'm going to invite the audience to ask and put a question in the comment box if they have any, while I move to the last part of the conversation today. I promise you a fast-paced, thriving, quick, engaging conversation, and we are in the last 10 odd minutes of the conversation. I'm going to change the flow a little bit here, Manoj, and I thought we'll add a little bit of fun, a little bit of excitement, and a little bit of sneak peek into your persona as a human being. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for them?
Shoot.
Cool. That sounds like courageous enough. Okay, let's go for it. So here is the first question, and this is a relatively easy one. Who is the one superhero whom you admire the most and why?
My mom.
Wow.
Multitasker, multi-skilled, has seen it all, no doubts in that.
Wow. Okay. If you won $1 million, I'm sure a lot of them must be lying in the bank already, but notwithstanding that, what is the first thing that you would buy? Is that if you win it in a lottery, what is the first thing that you will buy and why?
Ooh. I'd love to buy a trip to space, just what Richard Branson just did. See something like that.
Wow. Okay. Which is your favorite holiday destination? That's an easy one.
That's an easy one. Scuba diving sites, Philippines.
Super. What is the one thing that you notice about people when you meet them first?
The spark in the eyes. It tells a lot.
Wow, that does speak volumes about your keen observation to be able to notice a spark in the eye. On a side note, when we first met, did you notice a spark in my eyes or not? I know they
You
are
were
very
very
small.
stuck because it was difficult to see.
Okay, thanks for that. If your life was a movie, what would it be called?
Hmm, good one. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, you can think. Let me come to the next one, and I'll leave you with that thought. If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Let's see. With my brother. I really
You
like.
sure envy him, boy.
No, no, I admire him. I don't envy him. I admire him. He's a doctor. He cares for people, and I think that's what I really like to do.
Wow, how nice is that? Okay. One more question before I come back to the last one. Have you thought about the last one, by the way, which is about if your life is a movie, what would it be called? And you can give a hypothetical name to it.
Well, Munna Bhai MBBS, because he aspired to do something and he went ahead and did it.
Excellent. A go-getter, isn't it? Wow. And the MBBS. So both your
Yeah,
ambitions get served in
exactly.
one movie.
Exactly.
Okay. So here's the last one, Manoj, for you. Um, what legacy would you like to leave in one word?
And an organization that's ready to ever change, a product that is resilient for the world. I think that's the mindset, and I would kind of summarize that in one word: mindset. The right mindset for people to thrive and grow.
Brilliant. I think that sums up the entire conversation, doesn't it?
Oh yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Manoj. You've been such a, I don't want to use the word insightful because it's been used and abused quite a bit, but thank you for sharing your very real experiences, the humaneness to the leadership quotient that you bring, and a very practical insights and advice. I have a couple of questions. I have time only for one, so I'm going to read that out and show it on the screen. It's asked by Neelam Dhaka. She is asking, what's your story slash inner dialogue that you tell yourself when you feel low or face challenges or feel frustrated because things are not going your way?
Things will always not go your way. That's reality. You just have to take two steps back, take a deep breath, figure out what's going wrong, and move on. Life can't be a straight line for you. There will be challenges. You have to figure it out yourself, and you have to find those solutions. I think the best thing is to talk to your trusted advisor, whoever it is, at home, at work, and try to get solutions. That's a very simple answer I can give to the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Manoj, for giving that answer. And thank you for putting things in context. I think I have 2 minutes. If you have, I can take one more question. Would you be comfortable with that?
Yes, please.
Okay. The last question from today's conversation is that, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give for aspiring leaders?
Please adapt and preempt the changes that are in front of you. Don't expect that life is going to be status quo, and keep equipping yourself to face those changes, because otherwise the change will take over you and you will be left surprised.
That is, again, I think a great answer for people to take back. And if they've not already started, they should start kind of preparing for it right now. So thanks a ton again, Manoj, for taking out the time and sharing your experience and insights with us. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable and a very, very useful learning experience for me too, and I'm sure for the audience that was glued into this conversation. Thanks a ton once again.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here and wishing you all the best. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. You can watch this on YouTube later also at my handle. I'll share the handle with you. Take care. Bye bye.
Take
See
care,
ya.
man. Stay safe. Bye.